Okay, first of all, good morning. How many of you have been in one of my classes before? Raise your hand. Okay, so you have been here a number of years. Well, today we're going to be discussing the elements of a book by a man named Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey, it's on. Everybody have one of these, by the way? Okay. Now, Stephen Covey wrote this book and he said, what are the habits or traits of a highly effective person? In other words, a successful person. What are they all about? And the information in this book is incredibly logical, and it makes just a lot of practical sense. Now, there's going to be times in here where I'm going to ask you to write something down or underline something. And when I do that, please do it, because it's an important point that in the future, if you ever want to review this, just to reinforce some of these ideas, they will help you as you go out, whether it's additional education, whether it's going out into the job world. It will definitely hold you in good order if you practice some of these. Now, I am not going to be going through every single element of this today. We don't have that much time. But I'm going to do hit the high points. And if you have any questions while I'm presenting, by all means, please raise your hand, ask, and I'll do my best to address it. Okay? So the first thing that we would need to know is when it says habits of highly effective people, first of all, what's a habit? If we look on the first page, it says, what is a habit? A habit is some action, something you do over and over until it becomes automatic and you don't have to think about it anymore. It has become a habit. To create good habits takes time and requires effort and patience. There are no quick fixes. Truth of life. Anything worth having that is of value takes effort. And not just a one-time effort, sustained effort. Always back-checking yourself to ensure that you're still on the track that you initially had set forth for yourself, that you haven't wandered off your purpose, okay? So a habit is just doing something over and over. We're going to be discussing 7 of these habits that will help you out in the world, help you in your life. Not just at work, but with your family, your friends, community. These are simply common sense rules of the road for life, if you will. Okay? So that it says, what is the, if you go 2 pages further, it says, what does effectiveness mean? And we need a new definition. That's on page, I think it's 6? 4?
Page number 4.
Page 4. I didn't have my glasses with me, so you'll have to forgive me.
Yes. All right.
So what does effectiveness mean? Well, it's pretty simple. It's getting what you want. And to be truly effective, it's getting what you want over and over again. In other words, it's repeatable. So if you follow a particular line of thinking, a particular way of acting that brings you the success in any given area that you want, that means that you are effective. If you can do that over and over, that makes you highly effective. I mean, it's kind of logical. There's no silver bullets here. It's just, how do I know when I have completed my mission successfully? Well, you have to make sure that you know the direction that you're heading. Have a goal. And then always measure, always locate yourself and any subsequent action relative to the goal. Always, in other words, keep your eye on the ball. If you're a cricket player, if you're a footballer, okay? One of the key things, keep your eye on the ball, right? In life, it's the same thing. You keep your eye on the goal. You keep your eye on what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. Not do, but accomplish. Because doing without accomplishing isn't of much value. Accomplishment means something. Just doing simply means you're spending energy. It doesn't mean you're accomplishing anything. So know the difference between the two. I've had, as manager or executive, I would have to periodically talk to people. And they say, Bob, I'm working, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and yet they're still falling behind on their project. And I would submit to them that it doesn't matter how long you work, how many hours you put in. If those hours you're putting in are not effective, are not moving you toward the goal at a pace that you committed to, then I submit to you that you're wasting your time and you're wasting your energy.
You want to share the Arjuna story?
Oh yeah, right. And we were talking about the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata, specifically when Prince Arjuna was going to vie for the hand of his wife, to be, what was her name? Draupadi. Draupadi. Now, this is, and I love this is great. So anyway, the king, or Draupadi's dad, said that, look, whoever can shoot the eye of the fish that was on this big, tall pole will get my daughter's hand in marriage. Pretty cool. So these three very strapping guys come up with their big bows and arrows, and one guy shoots and he hits the pole just below the fish. Close, but no cigar. The second guy shoots the arrow and it hits the tail of the fish. And closer, but not the eye. Arjuna gets up there and boom, he nails the eye, right dead center. And the king asked the three archers, well, what did you see before you shot the arrow? And the first guy said, well, I saw the top of the pole. And, okay, the second guy said, I saw the fish. And when he asked Arjuna what he saw, he said, all I saw was the eye of the fish. It's the only thing I saw. So I submit to you that that is an object lesson, that when you are focused on your goal, laser beam focus on your goal, and don't get distracted by things that are of not important to that goal, then chances are you will achieve your aims. You will achieve what you set out to do.
I'm going to give you another example, practical, which is going to, has affected us just half an hour ago. I would like all of you to look back at the stage where we took the picture and observe the stage and see if there is anything abnormal which we should have fixed during the picture. Can anybody see? Okay. This is called focus. How many were there? Around 40, 50, 60 students plus 10, 15 staff. But we have not noticed it. Now when we take the picture, there is a gap on left side and there is a gap on the right side. This is called focus. Whatever you are there, you have to be mindfulness. Have you heard the word mindfulness? Being in that moment. That's the only way you will be able to achieve 100%. And that is what exactly these 7 habits are going to talk about. getting the result what you're looking for in your life, being successful. This book has been written by studying all the successful people in the world. This is basically a research book, not somebody just idea came out. All the successful people in the world were studied and found what is the best, why that company was the successful, or Adani was the successful, or Mark Zuckerberg, take any successful people today. Like that they studied the previous people and wrote this book. This is the New York's bestseller, one of the top books in the world, called motivational books. And that is what the knowledge he is going to transfer to you. Okay, back to you.
Okay. So, before we start off on any adventure, which life is an adventure, work is an adventure, setting yourself goals and looking at opportunities to expand your sphere of influence, that's an adventure. So, but before you do that, you're going to probably have to work with other people, won't you? In more or less a collaborative environment. Collaboration, people sharing ideas, people helping each other come up with new ways of looking at things, of doing things. Well, if you happen to be the leader of this group, and you are responsible for getting this particular task accomplished with whatever output is defined, it's up to you to ensure that you set expectations. This is important. Write this down or circle it on your page, what is it, 8 or something. Setting expectations. When setting expectations, they cannot be confusing or ambiguous. Ambiguous means vague or not well defined. If your goals are not well defined, guess what? Your output will not be well defined, and you're not going to achieve what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Okay? So expectations require objective clarification rather than subjective interpretation. Now let's say that again. Expectations require objective clarification. That means very specific elements that together make up the end product that you're trying to create. Okay? And it cannot be subject to interpretation. Your idea of what it might be, or your idea of what it might be. That can't happen. Again, if expectations are subject to interpretation, Lord knows what you're going to get at the end of the day in terms of the output of your efforts. So make sure they're clear, not ambiguous, very pointed, and that everyone understands what the expectations are. How do you do that? Well, and I speak from experience of doing this actually in the business world.
Can any of you tell me what should be your expectation in next 6 months? Just raise your hand.
In their lives or what?
Yeah. Now, they have something going to happen in next 6 months. So what should be your expectation?
What are your expectations in your life for the next 6 months?
Okay. Here, the answer is to get a good percentage. Can anybody write that sentence better? Say it better. Think about Arjuna. He wanted to shoot the eye, and that's the only thing he saw. His sentence doesn't have eye in it. No, I want a better answer than that. There you go. See, 99% and good percentage. The difference is the way he was talking about vague, undefined. That is where you need to define this. You do not want to talk around. You want to shoot. And decide, you want 95, 96, 97, 89, 79, write it down on your wall. When you go home, go to school, wherever, Write down the number you want. You got 99, right? It should be written when you sleep and look at it. It should be 99% there. That is how your life goal has to be here and everywhere. Whatever you see, whatever you do, it has to be in your mind and you will achieve it. But if it is not defined clearly, the way he was talking vague, don't be vague in your life. जो करना है, ठोक के करना है और exact करना है. Not running around, talking around. I mean, the example he gave Arjuna. There were so many people. Somebody looked at the fish, somebody looked at the pole, somebody looked at the circle, and there was only one person who looked at the eye because that was the target. So if your target is 99%, that's the only number you should think day and night, and you will achieve that. Believe me. The universe helps you when you set your goals. Back to you.
Ken just said something that was incredibly important, and that had to do with writing it down. If you do not write down the
Write
expectations,
your percentage right now on your paper what you want in your exam. Sorry.
if you do not write down clearly, succinctly, your expectations relative to any goal or project that you are on, I submit to you that it will be subject to the interpretation of anyone who happens to hear it. If you write it down, interesting thing happens when you write something. You have to coalesce, you have to bring down a thought from this vague cloud that's in our head and turn it into words, sentence structures, grammar, which gives this idea a physical structure to begin with by identifying exactly what you expect it to be when it is completed. And it must be the completed view of that. Because only when you know what it's supposed to be when it's done, will you know the steps or the resources that you will need in order to achieve it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So, the other thing that when we're working with teams or working with people, there's something called integrity, being honorable. On the top of page, whatever where it says, being loyal to the absent, you all there on that page? What does that mean? It means that you talk to people, never about them. You never gossip. You never say something to anyone that you would not say in front of the person in question. Because to do so is being a coward and a person of low character. And none of you, I'm sure, have any of that in you. That you would backstab, in other words. Backbite, which is, these are words that are used for someone who tries to push themselves up by holding someone else down. That's a person of low moral character. You must be very careful never to do this. Because why? Because when that comes around, you will sow distrust. And when you lose trust, you lose your leverage to get something completed. You lose your power base, in effect. Because people will not trust you. If you would talk about this person behind their back, then you'll probably do the same to me. So how can I trust you with anything? So please be mindful, as Ken said. Mindfulness means be aware. Think about it. Don't just kind of fly through it of, oh, this is not of great importance, because it's of critical importance. Your integrity, your honor, is the only thing when you die that you take with you. Everything else stays here. Fact. Fact.
One more example I want to give. I just observed CK brought some pens and dropped in your hands. Now you are a student. It's your duty to have the piece of paper and a pen with you all the time. Not only now, but in your future life. Suppose you are going for a meeting. When you are going to have some kind of career in future, go in any line. You have a meeting, you have a conference, whatever you are meeting. You have to have a pen and paper with you. That is the quality which you want to maintain. So that when the time comes to note down, you should not be looking around. And I'm going to give the example. Watch here. Does he need a pen? No. But you know, when you are at a professional level, you are always prepared. When you need it, you have it. That is one of the management principles have been taught in MBA class when I was studying in MBA. When you step up the house, there are few things you need. Your wallet should never be empty. You should have some cash because you never know when the emergency is going to come out. And if the emergency comes, you should not be looking around. So there should be a wallet with you and there should be some pocket money in that. That's some few techniques you need to learn in your life. When you step out, your pen should be always with you. So these are the techniques you need to learn in your life so that you will be able to successful. And these are the small things, but they will make a big difference in your life when the presentation of your personality is done in front of others. When you take yourself there, and when the others say, okay, the guy is dressed nicer, his shoes are shining, belt is in place, shirt is clean, there is a pen, there is a showpiece. That personality image, which is going to be given as a first image, is going to be the last image. That is where your success is going to be determined. In addition to the 7 habits, these are some tricks we want to tell you so that you can learn it and be on your track where you want to go for.
All very true. And I'll give you another example. When I was going through school, I had to work a full-time job as well as go to school full-time because my family didn't have the money to put me through college. So what I would do is I worked as a janitor, cleaning floors, cleaning bathrooms, fueling up airplanes at an airfield, and anything to earn money so I could pay for my tuition, books, fees, and living expenses. Now, at the end of my shift, which ended about 6:30 in the morning, my first class was 7:30 a.m., a 3-hour computer science class, starting at 7:30 a.m. every weekday morning. So what I would do is I would get out of my coveralls, because I was filthy, and take a shower, which they had in the facility, and I would dress. And I'm a student now. I would dress in a suit, a tie, clean shirt, shine shoes, every single day in class. Others were wearing Levi's and t-shirts and stuff like that. And I don't care if it's not a requirement. There's something that you mold your character around what you are doing physically, what your image of yourself is. My image of myself was to be a successful businessman. And to me, a successful businessman looked a certain way. When I looked around, I saw they wore suits and ties. They were neatly groomed, shine shoes, and you have the tools of your trade. And never give excuses. If you forgot something or if something's just you messed up. But we'll get into that in a second. So I would dress for success. There's a book about that. That you're not only altering your own psychology, but that's the first thing that somebody sees when you walk into a room is how do you look? And first impressions are difficult to overcome if it's negative. Would you say that that's a true statement?
Exactly.
So you want to make sure that even the first impression of how you look is positive. I went on many job interviews, and through the course of my career. And I would always walk into the interview room with a pad of paper, my pen, dressed appropriately for a business environment. And I would take notes. I wouldn't just have my head down, but you could take a note and look up and ask questions and so on. But it alters your mindset. It alters your self-image. Because you see, that's the first thing that has to change, is your self-image. When you have a positive self-image, there's something that radiates from you, some confidence, a level of competency. Whether it be true or not, you look competent. You look successful. Remember that. Very important. You should write some of that down, by the by. As you dress for success, always keep the tools of your trade with you. I don't care if you're a carpenter, it's a hammer, it's a saw, and whatever other things, a carpenter has. As a business person, it's always going to be a pen, a notebook, it might be a ruler or something. But find out what's appropriate for the environment and then behave accordingly. Now, the next element that we're talking about, and it's a matter of character. We haven't gotten to the habits yet, but we're building the foundation upon which these habits are going to sit. Another brick in the foundation is the ability to apologize for mistakes. And how many people in here, when someone has just messed up, and they're asked what happened, either they're silent like a deer in the headlights, well, if I shut up and don't say anything, they can't hold it against me. When point of fact, they will, because they know you're trying to hide something. Number one. Number two, if you try to, and please forgive the language, but it's being expressive in this case, I think is appropriate. If you try to bullshit people, this means circuitous obfuscation. Boy, that's a hell of a word, isn't it? Circuitous, circular, obfuscation, to hide.